Hello and welcome back to another exciting podcast episode of American Pylon. Your host here, Will Mehall, joined by my colleagues James Thomas Fanning IV, Tyler Combs, and David Grayson behind the mic and the tech, making all of this possible. We've got a fun discussion here. It's going to be kind of loose. We're going to talk about a little bit what we did on the bye week, licking our wounds and paying attention to other games. And then we're going to take a look ahead at the Dogs matchup against the Gators. And then we're going to talk about what everybody wants to hear, which is what we're going to do with the money when we win the lottery. But before we get into all that, I want to give a shout out to our partners at In We Go. We've talked about them before on the show, but for just $30 a month, In We Go gives you unlimited access to events in and around the city. Now live in Atlanta, Phoenix, Denver, and Washington, D.C., and again, soon to be live in Florida. And for a limited time, you can plug in the promo code Pylon into the promo code box for $10 off your first month. So be sure to check them out at In We Go. So I want to get into Georgia football and talk a little bit about the matchup that we have coming up against the Gators, but we had an off week, right, which is, I think, probably couldn't have come at a better time for the Georgia Bulldogs. But what did you guys do this past weekend to occupy your time? What games did you watch? What was exciting to you to see against other teams, and what was maybe a little surprising for you?
Yeah. I didn't get to watch much football, unfortunately. The girlfriend and I went up to Mountain Country and Wine Country.
Where is that?
We went to Dahlonega. I guess there's a few places that could be. We went to the North Georgia foothills.
Napa Valley
for
the weekend.
Yeah, so local wine country, I should say, which was fun, very scenic. It was just before the touch of fall, so the change of color wasn't there, unfortunately, but still.
Did you pack some pumpkin?
Beautiful countryside. Did not pack pumpkin or any of my pumpkin beers, unfortunately. But it was a wine weekend. But it was fun. And the only game I got to catch, which was late night, was Purdue, Ohio State, which was what I think everyone was rooting for. And that was fun. So that was a fun one to catch of all of them. And I caught a little bit of the early, or I guess the first quarter of the Auburn Ole Miss game, which I was surprised to see Auburn kind of bounce back there because I thought.
What was the final score of that game?
I don't remember the final score, but I think they won comfortably. They were in the 36 to 14 in that range, which, Ole Miss doesn't look all that great themselves, I guess, defensively and throughout this first half of the season. But I was surprised to see Auburn kind of bounce back there and not give up on, because a team with national championship hopes at the beginning of the year yet again, right? But when that's kind of your your starting point, and then that's kind of almost no longer in front of you, you have to question the mindset and kind of the where the team's focus is there. So good to see that. But that's really the only football I caught, unfortunately, all weekend. But good weekend. Football kind of dominates our lives and my life. And I allow it. I appreciate that. I love how fanatical I am about it. It's the only thing I've ever known. So it's kind of nice on the bye weekend to kind of get away and break away from that and just not have to stress about Georgia winning, losing, or aggravating me.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
That was me. Jimmy was a little more involved in the football world.
I went home to Knoxville for the weekend where I grew up to see my parents. Dr. Brent Johnson came down from Asheville and made the trip. So
he's just a dentist.
But it was good. It was really fun to see Brent. And then I went to the Tennessee-Alabama game, which was a home game for Tennessee in Knoxville this weekend. Had a really good time at that. I know I give Tennessee fans kind of a hard time on this podcast, but they were great. I think that they've kind of toned down. They knew they weren't going to win going into Bama, so everybody's just there to have a good time.
Know your place.
Yeah, exactly.
Take it easy on them.
Shout out Tyler Green for setting up the tailgate at like 5 a.m. so we could all just show up at noon. And got to talk Titans a little bit with my friend Hunter, who's like one of 4 Titans fans that I have. And my buddy Matthew from high school was there too. So got to watch the Titans play their London game on Sunday at 9:30, and it was painful. That Titans offense it hurts me to watch. But
nice.
Overall, pretty good weekend. It was a lot of fun. UT people that I met, thanks for having me. Had a really good time.
Yeah. What about you, Will?
I kind of was in the same boat as Tyler. Not a whole lot of football, which is good, though. I think being able to kind of decompress midway through the season or just after and, being able to enjoy something else during the weekend with the girlfriend, just kind of hung out and took it easy. Wasn't, anything real crazy, but sometimes those are the best weekends, just being able to recoup and sort of take it easy. I did go to the Monday Night Football game last night.
Oh, nice.
Which was fun. And
you got those tickets through work? you said?
Yep. So we do kind of company team events. So it was me and one of the other managers, one of the reps within the company. We went there, took Marta there, showed up just after kickoff, and we were like third row from last in the bleachers.
That's almost exactly where Tyler and I sat for the SEC championship.
we were up there, man.
We had pretty far back there seats.
It was fun though. I mean, being at that elevation is kind of tough to take in the game, but at the same time, it was good. I tell you what though, what really sucked is obviously it being, having to work in the morning, we were like, all right, well, let's cut out of here in like the, start of the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm. Thinking like up going right down to the wire.
That, and I didn't get home till almost 1.
Really?
Because we decided, for whatever reason, that it would be a better idea to try and get an Uber directly back to where my car was parked. And those guys actually live like on that same block in Midtown. And they were like, yeah, I'll get the Uber, pay for it, don't worry about it, you're parked right there. It took forever to get to the Uber because all these streets are blocked off, and then eventually getting home. So it was a late night, but a lot of fun. I mean, that's the second game of the Falcons that I've seen in the Mercedes-Benz this year, which is...
They're 2-0 when you're there.
I guess I could say I'm a lucky charm.
The only two, right?
I think that was their third. One. Yeah.
I think. But I mean...
They're 3 and 4 right now.
Okay.
It was cool. The Giants aren't anything special, obviously falling to 1 and 6, but it was cool to see Eli Manning, OBJ, and just say, like, I've gotten to see them play.
Yeah, Saquon Barkley.
Saquon,
that's
exactly. Yeah, he had a big game for me. He's on my fantasy team.
Oh, yeah. How's your season going, Jim?
In the league I play with y'all, it's going poorly. I will say I would have gone 8-3 against the league this week, and I happened to play one of the 3 people that beat me. I would have beaten...
Who did you play?
I played Mike for Switch.
Okay.
So his team's pretty good. He's 7-0. He's in first place in our league. But I did check the scores, and I would have beat all 3 of y'all that are involved in this podcast. So
false.
I would like that noted.
Ooh.
I didn't check David's. I didn't expect
That's
anybody
why you made
to
a false statement.
Yeah, I didn't expect anybody to actually be able
news.
to call me out on that. I scored a lot of
Don't
points.
fact check that.
Yeah.
I scored the most out of anybody.
I am the butt of the jokes when it
Payday
comes to
for
our
David.
fantasy
I'm
leagues.
1 in 5 team.
But hey,
Really?
that's money,
All
right?
Well,
That's
producer
usually
Dave.
that is
All right.
usually where I sit.
I would have
in our
gone 2 and
fantasy
1 against the
matchups.
podcast. So
A lot of my
pretty
games
good.
were very, very close this year.
I am also not in the league, so you would not have gotten 2 wins.
I don't know what I'm talking about at all. Then
Par for
it
the
was
course.
early this
Jimmy's
morning. I
going.
checked and I saw that I lost, and then I looked at all the scores and I was like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah.
But I am 6-1 in my high school league, which has a bigger payout.
Aren't those
So-
all
Like, are these
Tennessee
friends
fans
from
too,
high
though?
school,
Those
or
are
are these
all-
just other high school kids that
Yeah, they're just my friends that are in high school
But they're
currently that I play.
unsuspected
fantasy
UT
football.
high school
folks, right?
kids that you suckered into playing with you?
I just wandered down to Cross Keys High School.
Yeah, that's kind of
It's
your
like,
UT.
Anybody trying to play fantasy football?
I
I
guess.
thought you weren't supposed to be within 500 yards
Yeah,
of school.
that is like my core of UT fan friend.
Well, take it easy on them, Jimmy. They're just volunteers.
Oh man, when that we have a group text, and I'll always text them after our games and stuff. And my phone was blown up when we were walking out of Baton Rouge out of Tiger Stadium. They were all, "Oh, Jimmy, what happened to dogs?"
Oh yeah, well bottom feeders, But I would just tell them, the lion doesn't concern themselves with the affairs of sheep. So.
Yeah, we got to go out there and beat Florida because they were quick to let me know this weekend that Tennessee has officially won an SEC game more recently than Georgia.
Yeah, let's jump in and talk about
true.
the
Took a
dogs
year to do
versus
it.
the Gators here
True for
because
another 4 days.
this
5
is the
days.
matchup that I think has a lot of implications for what's going to be going on down the stretch, with not only within the SEC but really for a lot of standings around the rest of the country. I mean, we saw this past weekend that Ohio State got their doors blown off.
Mm-hmm.
So another unbeaten falls.
Screw their boars.
Those boars. Their boars will never recover.
But yeah, so I mean, another unbeaten falls off the map, and this is just kind of, I think, a war of attrition a lot of the times that we see at this point of the season.
Yeah.
But I think Ohio State's usually good for one of those under the
This is
Urban
second
Meyer
year in a
era.
row, yeah,
Also,
they've had-
our roommate, one of our roommates, big Ohio State guy, told me that.
What? Let me stop you there, because I never. Why is he an Ohio State fan?
I think his dad
he
is from Cleveland. He's a
Big
Browns
fan,
guy too.
big
He roots
Ohio,
for the
big
Indians.
Buckeye.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a Cleveland all.
So he
all the
totes
way
the
through and through.
whole.
Oh yeah,
the whole gamut.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
he owns it.
That's good.
He
But
wears that Browns hat proudly.
Yeah, yeah.
That's that's
you
fair.
have to
I have a
respect
lot
it.
more respect for
I
that
give it to
now
you.
that
Yeah.
I know that.
But just a little side note there. He did tell me that Ohio State, the last 8 games at Purdue, they are 3-5. at Purdue.
Are you
Are
serious?
they really?
Yeah.
I think I did. I
Wow.
saw that so which would be the exact same statistic. Like since 2000, Purdue has the best home record against Ohio State of anyone in the Big
Yeah.
Ten.
Okay. There you go.
That's
So
amazing.
that's just
Well,
another way of saying what you just said.
Yeah, John brought it up on the last podcast. He said that this is not going to be an easy matchup for Ohio State, and it's a hard place to play.
Yeah.
So
Which is bizarre. I
That
mean,
is very
it's not
strange.
it's not even an enclosed stadium. It's they have 3 sides and a field house. It looks like a high school.
I guess you figure
Event.
when you got a game like that coming up on your schedule, you guys are going to show out regardless. And I
Oh,
think
It was
40,000
crazy because
up.
I was able to watch starting in the second half. We really started to pay attention when Purdue got up by 10 or 14 or whatever. They got up 2 possessions, and then just watching it happen it was crazy. It was like that Ohio State just could not get anything going on offense, and they could not do anything to stop Purdue. Every time Purdue got
couldn't.
the ball, they scored.
That number 4, that wide receiver, and
Yeah.
their running back number 1, they couldn't tackle them. They couldn't bring them down. Perfect play call. And they stayed aggressive too. Like Purdue was up, I think 3 scores. And they just kept throwing. They did not get conservative at all, which is what
I like
we want to
that.
see.
I like that for
That's what we want to see.
I agree. I agree.
Just
I
keep your
like
foot in
that
that
for a
gas.
smaller school to not get gun shy and try and play it safe. It's kind of go out there and say nobody expected us to be in this game anyway, so let's kind of put our foot on their throat.
So and also to finish that up, I guess Ross Ade Stadium, which is the name of Purdue Stadium, holds a whopping 57,236. So
wow.
2,000 more than Georgia Tech Stadium.
Then Georgia Tech, yeah.
Just a raucous environment there. So
I bet
anyway,
they were rocking that night though. West Lafayette, Indiana.
Yeah.
Is that
yeah.
correct? Yeah.
Is it West Lafayette? Yeah, I guess
I think
so.
it's West.
Yeah.
I don't see it here.
Well,
Anyway,
Anyways, let's talk about the Dogs versus the Gators. Again, a matchup that is certainly exciting, one that we
Nice.
have always looked forward to. I know for me it was a special game going down to Jacksonville, being on the beach the day before and then making the trek to the game. I've only actually gotten to be in the game twice for the times that I was in college and then afterwards. I'd love to make it to another one, but let's start off and take a look at the Dogs about what we expect from them coming off a bye week, and then, of course, prior to that, the loss to LSU on the road. Where do you think the Dogs bounce back? Clearly, they've had the time to make these adjustments, so what do we expect to see from them going down to a quote-unquote neutral site to play the Gators this coming weekend?
We're getting healthy right now. I think that's really important. Tyler and I were talking about it's crazy how just taking one game off, magically your whole team is back at practice, and we've got some defensive linemen that didn't even travel for the LSU game that are back. So that's going to be important because their quarterback's nothing special. So, I mean, I wouldn't even say he's as good as Joe Burrow. So, who had even though they ended up beating us, he had a pretty average game against us. So, if we can stop their running attack and make them beat us through the air, I think we'll have a pretty good shot. That being said, we really didn't play the run very well against LSU, so it'll be big to get those defensive linemen back. But I would say that's going to be the matchup that's going to kind of decide the game, in my opinion, would be our rush defense against their running backs.
yeah. I think we come out and we don't. I think Fromm's the starter, so there's nothing dramatic there as far as quarterback play. I think we should definitely lean more into our run. You saw versus LSU, we had some success versus the stoutest defensive front we've seen to date, and we went away from that, unfortunately. Kind of went back to that pass-happy offense, which is fine as long as you're hitting your plays again. It wasn't that we weren't, I guess, I don't want to say we weren't able to execute. It's just to put it simply. And then, so for the offense, I guess, just run it down their throat, really continue just to rely on your strength. Now that DeAndre Swift, like Jimmy said, is one of kind of the injuries he's had lingering. Seems to be at full health. Even being Cleveland was back at practice today. So it's starting to kind of be on the mend there as far as offense, and I think we're starting to see more explosive runs now. I think I was reading earlier today that we are second in the SEC in runs of 20 or more with 13. So
Really?
it doesn't feel like we're explosive, but as far as our conference and what we're known for, we're definitely up there, top 2. And then defensively, I think this might be a week we see a Channing Tindall come in. Maybe not necessarily get a start, but kind of get heavily involved in that rotation at inside linebacker a lot more, just because we've had a whole week to kind of install Florida, have some guys look at, just I guess have that hard conversation after a game like LSU where maybe our defensive line I think played a little better than we give them credit for with like Jordan Davis stepping in there, now getting Devonta Wyatt and some of those guys back that are going to help kind of strengthen that defensive front. Now we need our inside linebackers and just linebackers as a whole to start making those tackles.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably the biggest point of emphasis in my mind this week is the inside linebackers. I mean, I know you're not going to single a group out like that, but that has to be circled on the board.
They didn't play well against LSU. You got to call them out when they don't. I think that's a good point because a bye week traditionally is when those younger guys can kind of make a move. Just because you have that week where maybe you can go back to fundamentals a lot, be focusing more on the scheme as a whole. Whereas it's probably hard to plug a younger guy in during the grind of the actual regular season because you've probably only got one day, a few hours out of the whole week where you're kind of watching film and looking back at what guys did right, what guys did wrong, where you can really pull them aside and say, here's where you need to get better before you got to install the game plan for the next week.
Right.
So you're kind of just rolling with what you have, trying to keep your head above water until you get to the bye. So I wouldn't be surprised to see some younger guys get in there. And Tyler made a good point the other day of it's goofy that if we're willing to put Tyson Campbell in there in a position where he's getting picked on, and I think the coaches have a lot of faith in him. We feel like he's going to be a good player, but he's not having a particularly good year. I mean, he's a true freshman, so you kind of take that as you will, and he's kind of on a learning curve. But if you're just looking at how he's performing, it's not fantastic. But we keep leaving him out there because we believe in what he's going to turn into. So it's kind of goofy that we're not taking that same chance with those inside linebackers who theoretically are equally as talented.
Yeah, or more talented. With Quay Walker and Channing Tindall, I think.
As Campbell, just in terms of
right. Oh yeah,
freshman with a real high ceiling. Yeah, definitely more talented physically than the guys we have on the field.
Yeah,
but something's keeping them off the field so far.
So that's where I think I see maybe the biggest jump, or it's not jump, just as far as change in personnel and what you might see come Saturday in Jacksonville is kind of look at that inside linebacker position and see kind of who we have trotting out there, who's getting in earlier in that rotation. I think also Jimmy and I were talking about this off record earlier this week, or maybe
we do a lot of preparation for this show.
A lot last week, or late last week rather. And we were saying that we could almost implement the same game plan offensively, at least, as we did at LSU versus Florida. And you just hit some of those plays, don't have some of those overthrows, and don't have some of that miscommunication. And it's a total, it might have worked versus LSU. We can't look at that. But you can just say similar offense, similar defense that we're going to see with Florida. If we just have almost the exact same situations come up and we just execute, we can win the game.
Down to the point where you could literally script the game the same. And then, early on in the game from was it Mikol he overthrows Mikol, so he hits that. That's a touchdown. Ridley is wide open in the end zone. He doesn't see that. Doesn't even try to throw to him. That's a touchdown. Maybe Florida is a little more conservative in punts where LSU had committed to going forward on fourth down, or maybe our fourth down defense steps up a little bit more. That could have easily flipped, 21 points we left on the field, not to mention how many points they got, probably either 6 or 9, just from the fact that they were going for it on fourth down and extending drives. So you could see us play the exact same plays all the way through, and if we're hitting where we're supposed to be hitting, it's a totally different game.
Yeah, so I think that's encouraging for us looking forward. Granted, that game versus LSU, we got to put it behind us, step one, and then step two, learn from those mistakes and get better. But you can see where we didn't do ourselves any favors, right? Again, we kind of talked about it after that game last week, I guess. It wasn't like the Auburn game last year where you saw these obvious dropping the balls, giving them favorable field position. It was just us. It was us missing. It was us being inaccurate. It was us not showing growth from last year with stuff we came to expect. So I think it's there because we have to execute. And I don't know how that changes. I don't think it's not a lights. You don't flip a switch and it in from it's just now all of a sudden dropping bombs and hitting them in stride 40 yards downfield. But during the bye week, I don't know. I guess you have a lot to look at and assess and go over. So
going into it, I think that I'm not ready to jump full on the Fields train yet and say we should bench Fromm and just Fields' time is here forever. But Tyler's being a little more loyal to Fromm than I feel like I definitely feel like Fields needs to get more meaningful minutes early on, get full series. We need to actually see what he can do.
Yeah, I think I'm totally on board with Fields getting more time. I just want to see it used correctly. I guess I want to see the
More
correct
passing.
personnel, and I mean, yeah, I'm tired of seeing him come in and run one play on second down, then come right back out. You know, say what you want about that, messes up Fromm's timing. I think he's a little more mature than that, or what have you. I just don't think, as far as Fields' development and even giving the offense or giving the defense we're playing against the threat of him doing everything in his toolbox, let that happen. You know, if it breaks, roll out so he's not just a sitting duck in the pocket. And if he sees something easy, hit it. Just tell him just take it. And if it's not there, run. So I mean, I agree. I'm still a Fromm guy. Even if Fromm has a pedestrian game and we still squeak out an ugly one, I'm still with Fromm in this, even through Florida, because I still. As exciting as Justin Fields is, I just don't think. I think we're seeing how comfortable they are, unfortunately, with him, and he's just not. I don't see with 4 games remaining after this, 5 games remaining. I don't see him just taking over the offense and and lighting up the scoreboard and not having some other frustrations, just not from frustrations.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think where we're at right now is that Kirby is in a mindset of the rest of the team is talented enough, and our schedule overall is. I mean, Florida's turned out to be a better team than we thought they were, and as well as Kentucky. Auburn's turned out to not be as good as we thought they were, but. I think that Kirby's kind of in a mindset that the rest of the team is good enough to win. I wouldn't say, despite Fromm or anything, but Fromm's definitely the higher floor but the lower ceiling, and Kirby's playing it safe. Yeah. But having gotten to watch Bama for, a full game, and it was against Tennessee, who's a less talented team than us, but I will say that Tennessee got down a real quick 21-0. So it was 21-0 like with probably 5 minutes left in the first quarter, so the game was pretty much over at that point. But after that, Tennessee played a pretty good game, and Bama's defense is mortal for the first time that I've seen in the Saban era. Their defense is not really that good. They were giving up some big plays. They were out of position. They were missing tackles, and Tua goes out there and just covers everything up because he's so good. So I feel like to beat Bama, you're going to have to win in a shootout because you're not going to limit their offense. So I think that Kirby, if I had to guess behind closed doors, feels like we can make it to the SEC championship at 11-1 with Fromm, and he's not willing to really roll the dice on that. But we're going to have to take some more because if we just go out there and keep doing what we're doing, I think it's just going to be a way worse version of LSU.
Yeah.
So I think he's desperately trying to get to get Fields ready by the SEC championship. Because like I said, that was the first time I watched Alabama in person, and that team has some deficiencies that Tua is just the best player in the country, and he's covering them up.
So you think, and I'm sure obviously he would never go on record for saying this because Kirby controls the narrative and he's not going to give away too much. You think behind closed doors, you're confident that maybe they're getting ready for Fields to just run him out, trot him out there, maybe at halftime, second quarter, third quarter, if we make it to Atlanta?
I would say this. I would say plan A is the light comes on for Fromm and he starts playing with the accuracy and with the decision-making he had last year. Mm-hmm. But I think they're looking at it and saying, the way we've seen him play all year, the way he was playing scared against LSU, we're not going to be able to beat Bama that way because we're going to have to be, scoring consistently and scoring touchdowns to beat Bama because I don't think we're going to keep Bama's offense if Tua's healthy under, 34, 35, 38, 40 points. So we got to go out there and score.
Yeah, I guess we can have this conversation every weekend, right? Depending on how Fromm looks, how good he looks, and he puts it away, kind of quiets the conversation and debate. I guess until we see Fields go out there and do it when the bullets are flying and the snaps are meaningful.
Right, and that's the thing.
It's hard to really.
I'm in no way sitting here being like, if we play Fields, we will definitely win. I'm saying that I think Fields has some tools that it could be a disaster. He could go out there and throw 6 picks, and then Kirby looks like an idiot for benching. This our quarterback that was completing 70% of his passes and had one bad game. Mm-hmm. I get that. I mean, it's easy to look at in hindsight, but it's becoming a pattern with Fromm that he's I don't know. I just feel like he's regressed a little bit this year, and he's at his best when he only has to throw 15, 16, 17 times a game, and teams are selling out to stop the run, and he can whether it's a flea flicker, whether it's play action, or he can get the ball to his guys in space that are going to make plays with it. But in terms of him, making the tough throws, making the quick decisions, hitting small windows, we just haven't seen that from him this year. And yet, to your point, we haven't seen it from Fields either. Mm-hmm. But Fields at least is a little more mobile and can extend the play and maybe wait for some guys to get the kind of wide open that Fromm has needed them to be to hit those plays.
High school open.
High school open.
Some
Yeah,
folks
to quote Laguna
know,
Dog.
so-
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and to your point about Fromm fitting nicely into that attempts per game, maybe 16, 20, less than 20. I think it was even last year. I think Fromm didn't throw for more than 20 attempts until
Missouri, I would imagine.
I think it was something. I guess
Yeah.
that had to been. It
Yeah.
was, so that, what was that, like week 6 or 7? So it was
it was
a
like
minute.
mid-October.
And so I guess we didn't really have to, but I just wanted to go back and look at the LSU game because I remember thinking, let's see, the highest number of
40%.
carries was 12. DeAndre Swift, Elijah Holyfield touched the ball 7 times that game.
Yeah,
That's
that was
insane to
a
me,
goofy game. I mean, we just didn't have very many plays. If you look around, I mean, how many carries guys had? How many attempts front? We just went 3 and out a lot.
We did.
So
after that
we
drive,
had
yeah.
quite a few less plays than normal, which is where I think the defense they played. I think the defense for the position we were putting them in played awesome, and I think Fromm taking that bad sack that we talked about with John that put us out of field goal range kind of just broke the defense. I mean, we as fans knew it was over at that point. So, if all we're doing is sitting there in the stands cheering on the team and we know it's over, how much harder would it be for the defense to go out there and be just giving 110% every single play when you know that there's the way the offense is playing, unless you get a pick 6 or something, the game's probably out of hand.
Which is, this was the first game we didn't have was it the first game we didn't have a defensive turnover? Or defensive score, even?
Surely
I
not
don't-
score. I would believe turnover.
Well, yeah, maybe conference, because so we did it versus
We did it against Missouri twice.
We did it, Missouri. We did it versus South Carolina. It was our first score. Did we not get one versus Tennessee?
I don't think so.
So
We had a
maybe
Nada
not,
had
just
a
not
fumble,
a turnover.
fumble return for a
So,
touchdown. We count that as a special team score.
Yeah, but just I mean, again, I guess just to wrap all this up is, I mean, I think for to see a success versus Florida, I think we do need to see more of a running attack, more. I'll say balanced overall, but I want to see definitely lean on that running attack more. Not our top 2 guys get a share of 19 carries. It's just
I think
you're
those
going to need to
guys
see more
need
than that.
30 carries between them, and Fromm needs to get back under 20
attempts.
I would say that is going to mean that we're having a pretty good day running the ball. And like I said, I mean, I think
Coach O's talking in my background.
His
Sorry.
computer's going off. I mean, I think if we can limit their run game, I see us, selling out pretty hard. They have a pretty good receiver, Van Jefferson. You remember that name?
Mm-hmm.
He almost came to Georgia, and then he went to Ole Miss, and then with all the sanctions, he was able to transfer without sitting out a year, and I think he's their best receiver down there. But Franks just hasn't really played particularly well all year. He's not super accurate. He's not super decisive. From what I haven't watched Florida play really. Will actually could speak to that better, but that was against Colorado State, which is hard to take away too much when it's not a true Power 5 school. But I would imagine our game plan is going to be almost the opposite of Missouri. We're going to sell out to stop the run and be willing to put our guys out there on islands and trust that their quarterback's not good enough to beat us with his arm.
Mm-hmm. I mean, this so familiar to how we always had versus LSU. Yeah. But the difference is we allowed the big plays, right? We saw the busted coverage. We saw them pick on Tyson Campbell and drop some beautiful throws, albeit from Joe Burrow's kind of a similar mold of Franks. It's not necessarily efficient, just kind of pedestrian game manager, get the job done.
Yeah, because I mean, at the end of the day against LSU, I mean, Burrow did have some, a couple big 3rd down throws. He did have a couple big 4th down runs, and I will give to Burrow's credit for how unimpressive his stat line is. Every LSU game I've watched this year, he seems to make 1 or 2 really clutch 3rd down throws. So that's something that he's good at, even though if he's not good across the whole game. But at the end of the day, he didn't beat us. Like he was 50% for 200 yards. If you don't have help on the offense besides that stat line is never going to win you a football game. They rushed for 275 yards on us, and that's why they beat us. So, I mean, if we can not let Florida do that, I'm willing to let Franks throw for 50% and 200 yards with no touchdowns all day.
Which is about what he's doing now anyways.
Yeah, so if you're just going to look at that, I would argue that if you could have a crystal ball and look in the future and say, okay, Georgia's defense is going to play, such that the opposing quarterback is 10 for 20 for 200 yards and no touchdowns, and be like, well, of course we're going to win that game. But then when you look at the rushing statistics, that's where the game was lost.
Well, good news. Florida averages a tick under 200 yards per game at 197.3.
Really?
And we allow rush yards 136.
And that's including LSU, which we allowed
LSU.
275. So I bet we're in like the low 1 teens before that. So I mean,
Encouraging.
hopefully it's like I said, we're getting some. We only traveled 8 defensive linemen to LSU of the 11 or 12 that we have on the roster. So, I mean, it's the same way we always talked about Auburn last year. If you're gonna lose a game, that theoretically was the best game to lose because it was your West game earlier in the season, right? Which those are the two things you want to do in college football: lose early and not drop divisional games.
Yeah.
So
Which
as much
Kirby
as it sucks, like
it's done every year.
Do it, yeah.
Well, at Ole Miss,
It's just good
Yeah,
planning.
Well, I was gonna say-
Kirby has absolutely laid an egg on the road.
he's gotten
at
shellacked
least.
by West opponents on the road. Ole Miss, say what you want about year one with Easton and such, but Ole Miss whooped us
Yeah.
on the road. Early noon game, not pretty. Auburn whooped us on the road last year, and then LSU
Yeah.
whooped us on the road this year.
There has been one game each year of Kirby's tenure, which I agree. You can kind of throw. I mean, that 2016 team was not good, and Ole Miss was really good before Chad Kelly tore his ACL. So, but even so, to come out and get beat like that was pretty
Yeah.
embarrassing.
It's just it's definitely, you can definitely say Kirby's in that 100% of the time he's been at Georgia as a coach. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know if the sample size is big enough to be, pulling.
Keeps him
too
humble.
many- too
Keeps him
many
hungry.
conclusions from it.
Something to work on as a coach. I like that.
Yeah.
So what would you say the Dogs' keys to the game are? And you know what I think we should do at some point, and I'm just thinking out loud now, is this should be like the In We Go keys to the game, right? So we'll give our partner In We Go
Let's just
another
do it right
shout.
now. Keys
This
to the
is going to
game
be the
presented
In
by
We
In We
Go
Go.
keys to the game for the Dogs to win this matchup against the Gators. Jim talked about being able to stop the run. What are two other things that you would identify as being absolutely paramount to the effort for the Dogs going into Jacksonville?
I'd say
That's on the
convert
spot
third
there.
down. How about convert on third down? Keep it third and manageable. Because this is perfect actually, as a on the fly thing.
God, I'm so
we
smart.
we rank 113th out of 127 schools of, and this is a Pro Football Focus or no, what is it? What is the advanced stats?
Oh, like Bill Conley's.
So
whatever.
we are
Yeah.
we rank 113th out of 127 schools on third down conversions of when they're obvious passing down, which I believe is third and seven
Yeah, I think
and
7
longer.
is what makes
We
it a
rank
passing
there
down.
are roughly what is that 13
It's
12 schools
I think it's,
worse
I
than
think
us.
it's actually 3rd and 5. I think it's 2nd and 7 and 3rd and 5 are considered passing downs.
Okay. So yeah, we are almost the very worst college football team at that when it's obvious. So manageable third downs, we say out of that. I think Fromm looks a whole lot different. It's a whole different animal. We're obviously moving the ball in earlier downs, and we were able to keep our entire playbook open. So I'm going to say keep it manageable and convert on third downs is a huge key.
And that's just to bring up a kind of a different point. And again, I mean, I'm not ready to full jump on the Fields train to where it's time. But like, at what point do we stop making excuses for Fromm? It's like, oh, he looks a lot better when there's the threat of the run. I mean, great quarterbacks should be able to not be 122nd out of 127 teams.
Totally agree with that. I mean, yeah, we want
I hate
that.
to hate on Fromm because he did.
Yeah.
I mean, he gave us my best year as a Georgia fan ever last year. So I mean, I'll always be thankful to him for that. But I feel like we are maybe it just feels sometimes like we're giving him a little too much credit for 2017
Sure.
when he had Chubb
Yeah,
and Michelle.
that's a good point. I mean, I guess that is who he is right now, right? Is he needs that threat like we had last year, all last year with those guys and stable of running backs, and this year even more so without quite the same stable but good running backs and some mix and match in the offensive line. We have definitely needed to help Fromm out a lot more than we thought we would, right? So I think that's just it. That's a good point. I mean, maybe there's no explaining that away. The stats are there. We're over halfway through the season, and that is, that's our identity right now. That's us.
And I will say to that point, at a certain point, it becomes, we're halfway through the season. It's become kind of a pattern with Fromm. He's had some of his games have been better than others.
I'm going to say getting into the backfield and getting pressure on Franks. I think that
Penetration.
I mean, that's an
Always key to the game.
easy thing to say, but from what I've seen, and I've actually followed Florida closer than any other season prior, just because my girlfriend's a Florida grad, and I went to the game and then decided to kind of
That'll do it.
keep up, on their season. Since then, he just doesn't look, even when he has time, he doesn't look entirely comfortable and entirely settled in some of the plays that I've seen him make. Even when he's not under duress, it doesn't look like he quite has it, quote unquote, in between the ears.
Between the ears, yeah.
Doesn't have that it factor.
Exactly.
I guess I've been spoiled, I think, because last year we weren't necessarily a high I guess we were a high pressure team. We weren't a high sack team. So maybe you just said quarterback pressure or pressure in the backfield. So maybe that is a better way to put it. Because since Mel Tucker's approach so far doesn't seem to be get after. It's not like Grantham. It's not like blitz heavy, get after the quarterback.
Yeah.
Get a high number of sacks. That wasn't our with the great defense we had last year. Roquan Smith was our leading sack. Our sack leader was 6 sacks in the entire year. That's through 15 games.
Yeah.
And some of those were in the Rose Bowl and National Championship. So
they were much more of like a bend don't break
and mush rush. So
and what kind of once we got going, I think we just trusted our offense to score touchdowns so much that it was like, we're going to make them grind out an 18 play drive or whatever it is, and then we're really going to tighten it down in the red zone. And if we give up a field goal on a drive that really, really tired their offense out and was real physical for them, we're okay with that.
Sure. So, I agree with you. I think pressure on the quarterback is always huge, especially one that's, he's throwing 5 interceptions, which isn't horrible, to Jake Fromm's 4. But, yeah, obviously, you can definitely help your defensive line. Well, you can definitely help your secondary out, our talented secondary, by being able to pressure the quarterback and force him into some ugly throws. You can prevent that big play from happening. But so what you said.
I'm trying to remember now what I was trying to say.
Stopping the run,
okay.
converting on third and manageable.
Yep. I say
and
keep
getting on the quarterback.
And
getting third and manageable to convert.
And those are the in we go keys to the game.
But here's what I was going to say.
Okay, go ahead, Jimmy.
And one more.
So no, this isn't a key to the game. Just an aside that where Tyler said, that's who Jake Fromm is right now. That I feel like at that point it a little bit becomes a coaching thing to where we need to say, Fromm has not progressed the way we expected him to, but he's not losing us games. He's not careless with the ball. He's a game manager. We were hoping he would be more than that, but that's what he is right now. So at that point, it kind of comes back to Chaney with the bye week, with some time to redo the game plan, to say, okay, here's what we're going to do to maybe take a little bit of the pressure off of Fromm, take a little weight off his shoulders. I never thought going into the season that Holyfield would be playing at this level. Obviously, it's well documented.
Still doesn't.
Yeah, so I think he's probably able to shoulder a bigger load than we thought he would originally be able to. So maybe he needs to take a little bit of that away from Fromm, or just rework where the touches are going, rework how we're calling plays. Who are if we have a board of these are our best players, so these are who we want the ball in clutch moments. Maybe rethink that, but. To Tyler's point, if Fields was ready, I think he would be on the field. We're not at practice, and we don't see the mistakes that he's making or the indecision that he has. But there's obviously something he's doing that they're not ready to put him on the field yet. So Fromm is our guy. So then it becomes on the coaches to kind of build a plan around him. So I'll be curious to see how we come out. But I would imagine that would be in the form of Swift and Holyfield getting a bunch more carries than we've seen.
Yeah,
which is exciting.
Yeah, I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, well. Again, a very exciting matchup coming up between the Dogs and the Gators. I think everyone's really excited for it. What are you guys doing for that game? I was actually just thinking about that.
We were discussing that. We
were talking about it with
hard plans.
Listener Cole Erickson today. We said definitely not the Battery.
Yeah, not the Battery.
That was our first thing we said. Absolutely not.
Just ruling out options.
I'm funny too.
Were you at the Battery when we watched the Falcons? No. We watched the Falcons-Eagles playoff game last year at the Battery, and it was. I'm probably going to burn some bridges. Never get a sponsorship from the Battery here, but it was a disaster. There's not enough bartenders. So you can't get a drink. There's not enough point of sales. They can't run tabs from 2 different point of sales.
Yeah.
So inside the same island bar where literally the computer is 3 feet away from
I didn't
the bartender.
know that.
Yeah, not even from Sport and Social to PBR, but the island bar that's upstairs that overlooks the giant TV. The physical point of sale cash registers can't share information for tabs.
That's
so
dumb.
Wherever you get a drink at, you have to always go back there unless you want to open.
It's 2018, folks.
Let's get with the seriously, times. This is ridiculous.
That's shameful.
Yeah,
I know, but we left at halftime and went somewhere else because it was just it was a lot. So I'm not a fan of the Battery. Again,
I'm always
probably never get a sponsorship from them now, but that's okay.
I'm always torn with these kinds of situations because it's like, yes, I want to go out and be around a bunch of Georgia fans watching the game, but at the same time, I'm almost tempted to just shut myself in the house and be like, don't anybody bother me, because now that we have lost one to LSU, this game is critical. Obviously this, and then we look at the Kentucky matchup, but I don't know. I
lean more towards the second. I went to watch, I think 2 or 3 years ago, I went to the Ivy for the first half of Georgia Florida, and Yeah, it was just a lot. There were a lot of Florida fans there, which in theory would be fun, but nobody was really talking to each other because everybody's trying to watch the game, but then they turn on music
I hate
in
that.
between the plays, so you can't hear the commentary.
I was going
and
to say, I lean towards...
I'm more of a watching it at
I'm with
home
y'all
guy.
too, which I know it sounds lame, but I'm okay with having people come over if I can control the environment.
Yep.
It sounds controlling, I know, but to Jimmy's point, I like watching with people that know what they're talking about,
Yep.
are interested in the game. Not to say I'm some football purist and I know more than other people, but it's just I want people to watch the game and be invested. I don't want a lot of talking going on. I want music playing. We're there to watch the game. Football happens for your guaranteed 12 weeks. I want to enjoy it for those 12 weeks. After that, we can party, we can play music, we can do whatever. I'll hang out. We can be as social as can be. I'll go to all the venues for other sporting events I'm not quite as invested in. But if it's something I love, want to talk to, want to do this every week, I want to make sure I can remember it and it gets my full attention, because it gets, throughout the week we're reading all these websites, putting this on, taking notes, rewatching games. So I definitely enjoy having my own crowd, and I used to back in my dark days when I cheered for another team. I wouldn't drink, and
that we will not mention.
I wouldn't. We
here.
won't. I wouldn't drink during the game, and I wouldn't watch it with anybody because I just wanted to. I wanted. It was like just total. Just me. I didn't want anyone else to distract me from it, which is a little.
Yeah, see, I like being with other Georgia
extreme.
fans.
I know that, but yeah, I don't want to be with too many.
We need to do a better job then of planning out. Like, okay, this is where we're going to be viewing it.
Yeah, we do.
Show
We
up
do.
at least 30
We
minutes
did
prior to
for
game time,
for
so
the
you have time
Missouri
to
game.
eat.
Everybody on this podcast was at Tyler's girlfriend's house. That was really fun.
Yeah, Melissa did a really good job.
That was really fun.
Yeah, it was for her birthday. Shout out Melissa.
Maybe I'll host if nobody comes up with something that they're going to do. Maybe I'll host something this weekend. I'll put together some food. And
Well, I think
y'all
we were
be
talking
more
about
than
having
welcome.
people.
I think we're doing it
over
here.
Oh, here?
Yeah.
Nice.
It's
Okay.
probably not
Even better.
relevant to our listeners. We can probably discuss this off air.
Yeah,
Well,
sorry guys.
or
If you guys,
if you want to come,
If any of our listeners want to come,
Yeah.
comment on the YouTube page, and you guys are welcome.
we will.
or
DM
if you
the
guys
address.
have any good ideas or places that you go to watch a game or any specific game day rituals that you do when
or
you're
if
not at a
any-
stadium, we'd
if
love to
any
hear
of
about
you
them.
want to host us, if you know of any parties that are not BYOB where drinks are provided, we're happy to do
totally
that
us.
always.
Yep.
Also, here, if you come to watch the game here, we can see we'll give you a tour of the studio.
Yeah, exactly.
For a $5 charge of admission.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, we would have to set up. See what David is because he's the only one that knows how to.
There you go.
So producer Dave will need you over here at 8 a.m. on game
Sharp.
day.
Just setting it up.
Get the
be in
studio
Florida.
set up.
I'm gonna be in Florida.
Oh, are you? You going to
You're going to the
Are you
game?
going to the game?
Yeah.
Oh,
What?
cool.
Well, I don't know if I'm going in.
Dude, go. You got to go.
Oh my
You're
God.
going down.
Do you have a
See,
ticket as of
I
right
found-
now?
So I went.
No.
I went to every game in college. So I've been in the game 4 times, and I was 3-1. But then I went to the one in 2014, which was the first year that I had to work on Friday, and I left town at 5:00 and drove to Jacksonville and got there at midnight. And it's just a lot if you can't take Friday off work.
Yeah.
And so me personally, I took it off work to go to LSU, so I'm not going to try and go this year.
David,
Plus
you got to go
Jacksonville
in.
is lame.
Going to LSU in Florida, those are their 2 best away games this
man,
year.
yeah,
That'd
that
be
would
fun
be-
to cross off.
That would be pretty awesome.
I'd like to.
I bet you
mean,
could have got a ticket for pretty cheap
Make it happen.
just 4 weeks ago, and now all of a sudden it's like a top. Is Florida in the top 10? Are they number 9?
Number 9,
Oh.
7 versus 9. Dude, how about this? Speaking of this whole build up to this game, 7 versus 9, which is already sexy. College game day is going to be there, which to me doesn't add much
They're
to
in
the game.
Jacksonville?
So college game days in Jacksonville,
Ooh.
SEC Nations in Jacksonville. And
Oh,
obviously
I didn't know that
and
they
then
could both be there.
I didn't either.
I
And
would have
then
thought that was
the
one
game's
had
on
priority.
CBS. So it's so we're just have nonstop coverage from from 9 to 12 on ESPN. Then it's on SEC Network, which is a huge, obviously broadcast down here, and then it's on the primetime national CBS.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I mean, I'd say Georgia,
Broadcast.
Florida's up there with like Texas, Oklahoma, and Ohio State, Michigan in terms of how much the TV stations like when both teams are good.
Yeah.
That's a big fan base with a lot of money
That's
on
fair.
both sides. So, in terms of how much they love when it's a top 10, top 5, whatever matchup.
Will and I are
it's-
making faces over here. I agree with Jimmy. I think
Am-
the
am
TV.
I being-
I think
Am I
Ohio
getting-
State,
am I getting a little
Michigan.
cocky
I think
here?
Ohio State, Michigan is a little far.
I think
I
TV
mean,
likes it, but
yeah.
I don't get the feeling that this is one of the big rivalry. I don't
Yes.
think it's
I don't know if it's Ohio State, Michigan. But I mean,
All right,
personally,
fair
to
enough.
me,
I make no apologies.
Well,
Yeah.
I agree. I mean,
This
I don't
is-
think it is.
yeah, this is the matchup that we.
I hate Florida. I
Love
mean,
to
it's
hate.
hate week, right?
This is
Oh,
my
yeah.
this is my podcast, and I say it's actually a bigger rivalry.
Oh, yeah. Jimmy also went 2 for 1 versus 2 people here
Yeah, that's fine.
in fantasy.
ESPN,
Stand
you
your
can
ground.
add us on Twitter if you disagree.
Yeah. Well, certainly an exciting game to look forward to. I know, and David, knowing that you're going down there, you're going to have to keep us posted. Take a camera down there,
Yeah.
get some candid interviews, outside the stadium and hopefully inside. If you can get a ticket, that would be awesome. I'm seriously jealous.
Is your uncle going with you, or Stacy? Who you taking?
Stacy.
Nice.
Is she from Jacksonville?
She went to Florida.
I know that.
Really?
yeah, but
I did not know that.
I did
didn't
not
know
know that
that?
either.
You two are
wow, you
fraternizing
guys
with
are
the
you
enemy.
guys are terrible friends.
We have some things in common. We'll
I
have to go on a
absolutely
double date.
knew that.
So, I'll be with some Florida folks. So I don't know if what we do is going to be up to me.
Dude.
Wearing jorts and like
Yeah, are you gonna
mullets.
wear
I don't know
jorts?
what the hell.
Yeah.
No,
Whatever.
no.
Stand your
Whatever
ground,
Florida
David.
people do.
You're a Georgia fan.
I'll be
Wear
wear-
it proudly.
Wearing that red PFG. I wore to the LSU game.
Don't wear that one.
Yeah, that's bad luck.
Don't wear that shirt.
You
Yeah.
can borrow my
don't care what you wear. Wear
Georgia
something
Mardi
else.
Gras beads.
I'll
They're
give
on
you
Bourbon
anything.
Street.
I have a black one.
There you go.
It would be cool if we'd blacken that game out. I know it's not the red and the blue. It looks cool in the stadium with the fans and the team. That's iconic.
Yeah.
But it would be fun to kind of mix that one up. Aside from that ugly ass try we did with the black
Yeah.
pants and the black helmet, that was hideous.
That was gross.
That would be a cool touch to see our half of the stadium completely black. That'd be pretty intimidating.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
just a different thing. That'd
That'd
be
be
cool.
I'm
fun.
excited. I'm ready to get the taste of that LSU game out of my mouth. It's always a bummer to lose, right before.
Yeah,
Suck that.
that wasn't classless, but
Okay.
intimidating.
Jeez.
But I mean, I don't know. It sucks to lose before a bye week. So I guess you could argue that's the best time to lose because you have
Yeah.
2 weeks to fix what's wrong. But as a fan, you have to sit there and stew on it for 2 weeks, which
Yeah.
is a bummer.
I have to admit, I'm definitely more nervous. Not necessarily that it's Florida. It's if we drop this, and I hate even saying that because I want to be a little more confident. But if we don't come out of there with a win, which we're human, obviously we were brought down to earth last weekend, I guess, or 2 weekends ago.
Yeah.
If this is it, this is the
Oh, yeah, for sure.
this is the season.
I
you
mean,
know?
it really is because now that we've lost a game, us and Florida are essentially, we're tied. So then if
And
they beat
Kentucky.
us, it would be a 2-game. They would have a 2-game lead on us. 1 game plus the head-to-head, so they would need to lose 2.
And this
It's
is the only
getting late
game
in the season.
This is the only game Florida's not. This is the last game Florida is not favored in their season
Really?
for the remainder of their season. Yeah.
Wow.
So
Yeah. So who else do they?
They
They have South Carolina.
Florida's
still?
got Missouri, South Carolina, Idaho, and Florida State.
So they would have to go 0-2 against Missouri and South
Yeah,
Carolina
which isn't
if we
gonna
lost
happen.
this game. Which I could see them going 1-1.
Yeah, not to both.
But they would win the East on a tiebreaker at that point. So
But
yeah,
this-
I mean this game is every SEC game is the season from now on.
it is. Well, these
Maybe not quite
We'll
Auburn,
clinch it versus
but-
Kentucky if we.
If
for
we-
national aspirations, all of them matter for conference aspirations.
Yeah, for
Kentucky
getting to the SEC
Kentucky and Florida.
championship.
Yeah, which makes it fun, right? It's not
No,
so
that's
much
college
like
football.
it's not.
That
it's
is
not. You're not
exciting.
so far removed from it. It's like, we were already clinched. We were already going to Atlanta. We can kind of just avoid 1 or 2 mishaps here late in the season. Now it's like this week. A little bit of butterflies, a little anxious. The game's gonna be we're gonna be on
Yeah.
eggshells until we hopefully pull a comfortable lead. Saying then the same thing next week versus Kentucky.
Yep.
Makes it fun.
Yeah,
Love it.
Yeah, it is exciting. Kentucky, they use the 6-day option, so we won't find out until Sunday when that game is. But I'm thinking realistically, it's going to be at 3:30, which would set up Auburn for a night game because that would be our 5th
So you can
CBS
be-
3:30 game, and you can only have 5 per season.
Okay, fine.
So that would make us ineligible to play Auburn on CBS. So then it would be 7:30 or noon, and hopefully 7:30. I think Kirby's been lobbying pretty hard for later games at night.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize coaches even had pull over that until Kirby got here, and we started having night games against MTSU and Austin Peay and stuff.
Yeah.
Prime time, baby.
Yeah,
Mark Richt had an early bedtime.
Yeah, you kidding.
seriously. But when we
I get to church in the morning.
when I was my second year at Georgia, the 2010, so Aaron Murray's redshirt freshman season, we of the 6 home games, 5 of them were noon games. You guys remember that?
No.
What season was it?
2010. You and I lived together in Town Club.
Oh, yeah.
For our UGA alumni listeners, we lived in Town Club off Millage, and 5 of the 6 games were noon games, and then the Georgia Tech game was a night game, and everybody had forgotten how to tailgate for night games. That was a long day.
And that game was freezing cold.
It was the coldest game I think I've ever been to. Auburn 2014 is up there, but I think that Tech game was the coldest game I've ever been to.
Yeah, I do remember all those noon games because I'm not a morning person, but noon is kind of morning when you're in college.
Yeah, definitely. That was a long season
fair.
too. We were 6 and 7, but we were at every single game, which
go.
is why we get to sit here and judge Florida for not showing up to
That's right.
their games.
We're going to go ahead and give a shout out to our friend Ed Freeman from State Farm. If you're like us and you're accident prone, then you're also like us and you seek out the best coverage. That's why we all rely on Ed Freeman State Farm. So whether you've got a boat, a car, a house, or a life, be sure to check out Ed Freeman State Farm for all your insurance coverage needs.
I think Ed's going to be down in Jacksonville too.
Yeah,
That wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He never misses that game.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Well, good for him. Hopefully, David, find him. Get some hot takes from our friend Ed. Selfless pitch, right?
Yeah.
There we go. All right, so we're going to kind of wrap up the show with our discussions of probably one of the most important topics that we've hit on thus far tonight. And, of course, we're referring to the $1.6 billion prize that...
Billion with a B.
Billion with a B. That is up for grabs if you have purchased a lottery ticket. So what I want to know is if you win the jackpot, okay, and we were actually talking about this before the show because I was convinced if you won the 1.6, you actually walked away with like $900 million. That's like not even close. It's like 560 or something million, which
Yeah.
is
I think what we
at that
figured
point
out
it's like
that
chump change.
The 9.6 that people quote, or not 960 million, is what the prize goes down to by taking the lump sum, and then you have to pay taxes on that 960,
Those taxes.
which bumps you down to 550. What did you just say?
You probably
Yeah,
have to pay
560, I
taxes
think.
on the 1.6. That's probably how it works.
Maybe it is.
Yeah, I don't know. But more importantly, since we've got this drawing at 11 tonight and we only have a mere amount of hours to decide what we're going to do with the money that we inevitably win come drawing time, I want to know what you guys are planning to do with the 560 some odd million dollars that you guys are going to be collecting or that you'll watch me collect tomorrow.
Okay, I'd travel. I would travel the world. I'd see the world.
It's a
That
lot
is
of
so
traveling.
cliche.
I literally.
Yeah, that's like Tyler's thing.
I'm serious. No, I would sell literally
Burning Man.
almost. How about this?
Bonnaroo.
I would go to
No,
Coachella.
Not even domestic. Not even. I would
God.
sell literally every possession.
Tomorrow World.
I would sell every possession except for my inevitable season tickets and a box.
You would have
that
to
I would
sell
have.
it. You just won $500 million. You can't give it away.
I don't
You
want to
can't-
come back to anything. I
You
just
can't
wanna,
donate it.
Yeah, geez,
No.
how selfish are you? You did 560
It's
million wasn't
philanthropic,
enough for
man.
you?
No, but an actual
That's how rich people
tangible
stay rich.
thing.
Like being
think-
selfish and mean.
Something tangible. I would have a game day house.
Well, he's already got
bomb-ass
those
game
two
day
going
house.
for him.
No one's even listening to me
I'm
anymore.
listening.
I'm listening.
I would have a-
Day house.
You know that
Bomb-ass
you
game
can't
day
you
house.
can't buy my game day house though.
That's
I know which
okay.
house I'm gonna buy for my 40th birthday.
And
in
then
Athens.
I guess I'll get a helicopter and just back and forth.
Would you get your license or you
Who's
just get a
driving?
driver?
I'd do it. Yeah, I'd do
Flying.
it. I'd fly.
That's a scary proposition.
Yeah.
I'd do it. But yeah, I do that. And then obviously I would do, which I know is not exciting because it's like just in Athens. We talk about this the entire time. But travel. But tangible things.
Travel to Athens.
Is the game day house in Athens, and I would also have like a sweet box for like all of us just to enjoy
Obviously.
alcohol
Yeah.
and everything for every single game. All my friends, everybody's families. Just
How many tickets
Just-
did you buy?
It just hangs over the 50-yard line. and
Hold
it's
on.
I mean, there's
How many tickets did you buy, Tyler, for the lottery?
none. Yeah,
Well, they say you gotta play to win.
I have good
so-
friends. Yeah, and for all of you who might win tonight, you mean the world to me, and you have
Yeah.
all touched my life.
That's what Reese.
And-
That's what Reese said on our big group text. He was like, "I didn't buy a ticket, but I figured my friendship's worth $1 million to any one of you." I was like, "We'll see."
lot.
But yeah,
That's
no, I would
steep.
just I would travel on my freaking yacht and jet all over the world.
Yeah.
How much does a yacht cost?
It depends
Depends.
how many feet you want.
I think
I
the
think
one
a
he has
yacht-
in Wolf of Wall Street is like $50
Doesn't a
million
yacht
or
start at like
something.
27 feet or something like that?
Oh,
Something like that?
dude.
It's huge.
Are you on eBay looking at yachts?
$275 million.
Ooh, that's like 50%.
That's a lot.
Of my
And then you got to pay
imaginary
for
net worth at
gas,
this
and then
point.
you got to pay for people to crew it.
Yep.
That's true.
That's a lot, man.
Which we
That's-
haven't
that's
won
a-
the lottery yet, but I have heard if you have to ask how much a yacht costs.
You can't afford it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we probably shouldn't
after
even be
my
looking.
investments and stuff, in about 3 or 4 years, it just kind of pays for itself.
Yeah, I'd put it
You
all
go
in Bitcoin.
Chart
and
it
then
out.
Be the world's first trillionaire.
There you go.
Can't
No,
go wrong. There.
I would.
All right, Jim, let's hear
My
it.
turn.
Go ahead.
I would buy a game day house in Athens. I would buy the gray. It's kind of like grayish brown. And it's at the corner of East Campus and Millage with a wraparound porch.
Whoever
yeah,
lives
yeah,
there,
yeah.
just know that Jim has been scoping out your house.
Yeah.
Probably watching.
Every time I see that house, I say I'm going to buy it for my 40th birthday.
Well,
but
now you know your price from
I
Jimmy.
might buy it for my 28th birthday if I win the lottery. I would buy a studio for American Pylon
There you go.
because I'm
What
a
a
better
guy.
cast member than
Yeah,
Tyler.
I would do
And
this
he
for a
didn't think to
living.
do that. Yeah, I think what I would do is I would buy a frequency on FM radio, and we would just do this all the time, and we
Yeah.
wouldn't need sponsors, and we wouldn't
Definitely.
care if anybody was listening. We'd just sit here and talk about Georgia football, and it would be a lot of fun. Past that, I don't know. It'd be fun to because our generation struggles with student loan debt, so it would be fun to all your close friends to pay everybody's remaining debt off. That'd be a pretty cool move.
We're just simple men.
Yeah.
That's all we want.
Wouldn't want a
They're
share
like
of like a
philanthropic.
sports franchise.
Yeah, I
Buy in
don't know,
on a
man. The Titans are my team, and they're probably on the low end of value as far as franchises go. I can admit that, but I still don't think $560 million would be enough to buy.
It's definitely not enough to buy.
Yeah, I think
anything.
Will told us before the show $900 million for the Marlins is
And
the
I think
lowest.
that's the lowest that you could go with. I think I don't know what hockey teams. I got to
I
imagine that
wouldn't buy a
hockey teams
hockey
are
team. It's
less.
irrelevant.
But I'm just saying, I got to imagine that hockey teams are less than a baseball franchise.
Maybe I could buy an MLS expansion franchise. The
Dude.
league is growing. That'd be kind of fun.
Get in touch with Arthur, see what he wants
Yeah.
for Atlanta United.
Yeah,
And
but
there you
I
go.
think so for the remaining season, I would just buy the best tickets I could get online because I think all the boxes and stuff are spoken for this year.
Yeah.
So for this season, obviously we would go to all the rest of the games and buy the best seats available. But then for next season, we would have a big nice box.
Yeah, I just want to
for
party.
friends and family.
I just want to party at the sporting events that I love. Right, just every time Braves
Yeah.
games, Falcons, whatever it is, just everyone come. Have a big party in the suite for the rest of life. I did look up what the Titans are worth though per Forbes 2016 valuation. Titans are worth $2 billion.
$2 billion
With a B.
Wow.
What are the Cowboys worth?
They're the number one.
Of course.
Are they more than
I
Real
feel like
Madrid
them, the
in
Yankees.
the NFL or in the whole world for
what?
franchises?
I think the whole world's like Real Madrid and
And
Barcelona.
and the Yankees
Yeah,
might
they-
be above the Cowboys too.
I'll look this up. Will, what would you do?
So you got to get all the boring stuff out of the way first, right? Like, of course,
We've already covered that.
I would
Yeah.
pay off all my debt. I would pay off friends' debt. I'd pay off my parents' debt, my brothers, and all that kind of stuff. I like never travel. I've never been outside the country. I've never even been to like someplace not super exotic like Mexico or a cruise or anything. Like I've never even done that kind of stuff, right? Which I feel like is
I'm going to Thailand when I win. You can come.
okay.
I was just going to book an entire private jet, so
Yeah.
should be fun.
So I would probably buy a couple different houses, right? I would have a beach house, I would have a lake house, but then you can't just like, I don't care if they're necessarily like massive mansions on that property, but I want all the toys that go with them. Like
Yeah.
3 boats, 6 jet skis, like just blow it out
Just a man of the people.
so that everybody that
Skee ball.
wants to party, like if it's a game day weekend
tea.
and it's, I'll just build a lake. Right?
Yeah,
because
yeah, just
everybody
create a
hates
lake.
driving the
Lake
hour that
Meehaw.
it takes to get up to any relevant lake here in Georgia.
Amen to
So
that.
we're just going to clear out parts of Atlanta that like aren't bad and then build a giant
That nobody
fence.
cares about, like Georgia Tech's campus.
Exactly.
We can just move it.
Just move that.
put a lake there.
We
That would be great.
We should
be
move
awesome.
Bikini Bottom somewhere else.
Take it and push it somewhere else.
So we can move Georgia Tech. Nobody cares
Getting
about
pretty
that
deep into
terrible
the memes
city.
right now.
And then we can put a giant lake there. We can build my lake house. Tyler can have his helicopter pad. Jimmy can drive a yacht in circles around that lake.
So have we all won the lottery at this point?
Well, I'm just figuring there'll be some kickbacks.
Okay.
And you're a
Okay.
pharmacist, so I feel like you could
That's
almost
fair.
afford that.
You're almost there.
Okay. This
So-
is after American Pylon takes off.
Yeah, this
We're
is-
all collecting.
I thought we've already
seven-figure
made it.
salaries.
We have made it. We have like
You're wearing a
sevens of
shirt to
listeners.
prove it.
So
Yeah.
in we go.
In we go. Thanks again.
Speaking
for
of-
the
We have
sponsorship.
twos of sponsors.
I did use an InWeGo. I went to an InWeGo event for a whiskey tasting. My favorite distillery, ASW.
Yeah,
Oh, nice.
you mentioned
Great
that to me.
time. Yeah,
Dude,
The
I went to the
girlfriend
liquor
came.
store
It was
the other
great.
day because you were like, you got to check out this whiskey, or and I enjoy whiskey or scotch or bourbon, whatever the case might be. And he's like, dude, yeah, just go pick up a bottle. I walked into the store. It was like $45. It's like, I was like, I don't know how much money you're making, but that's a little rich for my blood. Yeah. I asked the guy to show,
which is why I need to win this lottery.
Yeah, seriously. I asked the guy to show me where it was. And he walked me over there, and I was just like, okay, thanks, and then walked away. This guy was like, wow, this is the reason I hate you people.
Where's your Mick Ultra at?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have some Evan Williams laying around.
Yeah.
Wave.
Get the Evan Williams Black. Treat yourself.
Seriously.
Comes in a glass bottle. At
It's
least.
a Tuesday. I'm trying to treat myself. So
Are you done with your
As right now, you guys are drinking Johnny Walker Red that someone left in
Time
our
out.
house.
Hey, whoa.
Jameson.
This is
Is it
Jameson, and this is
Jameson?
at least a year old.
We don't know whose it is. It
I
was
don't let it
just
go to
here.
waste.
Somebody just left it at the studio. Probably Kirby when we had him
It's
on a
aged,
few
yeah.
episodes ago. He probably
aged
brought
well.
it.
Let's in a fit of rage.
if Will's done with his
Yeah, David.
producer
Fantasy.
Dave.
Let's hear it. Some more studio equipment, obviously.
Yeah, I think
Like a
we're.
music studio and stuff.
Shut up! I'm getting there.
This is like when we get to David Last and all the other Mount Rushmores, and we've taken all the options.
Yeah, you really did. 'cause
Spider-Man and Batman are gone.
This is exactly what I was gonna say before y'all all started talking.
Sorry, that's
Been
our
doing that
job.
for almost an hour.
Wait, why are y'all here?
wow.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say I would try to do the house thing, but I was thinking more of it like in each main city, like a Miami house, a Vegas house,
New York. Gotta go to
New York, obviously. But like, do it in the sense of I don't need to be at all those houses all the time. So like, let a property manager run all those houses, and then all of my friends and family can just book it up for free. You know?
That would
like
be
that.
cool.
I do
That
like
would
that.
be
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
This is all being recorded, so I'm glad we've got all this on record.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Would you get like physical houses or get like penthouses and high rises?
hey, whatever's the most exciting. Whatever's probably close to downtown. Walkable distance to.
David's
No
gonna,
more
David's
Ubers.
gonna get a loft above Whiskey Pen and Athens as his game day house.
I'm living above Lazy Shopper, so
I'm not going to Uber there. Are you kidding me?
Fair. But yeah, no, I was going to say the studio thing too, but not for the podcast. My real passion is music.
Wow.
You know, so
Okay.
Okay.
You know, it's a little bit different. I don't have to deal with Jimmy's audio issues like I did 30 minutes ago.
He makes a good point.
Trying to wrangle all these mics in.
The
so-
mic can't handle all the range of my points.
you know, that's good. But yeah, no, I would do a music studio. Obviously, having American Pylon's got its own little sound.
Naturally.
like a closet
Yeah.
for us.
But I'd let record labels come in. Doesn't have to be one record label.
Allow
you
them.
know, just
That would be cool.
Well, they'd have
Yeah.
to pay me. It's like a salon where like they have to pay for their chair, right? But the
I didn't know that's how a
A
salon
salon
works.
that's your example.
That's how it works, though. Like
I had no idea that's how a salon works.
Some of them, but you like pay for your chair, and if you can't keep up with the dues, you're out, right?
How about that?
So,
Wow.
Today I learned.
Maybe I'll open a salon.
So yeah.
Cash flow.
But still record label, not salon. I don't.
So David's opening a salon.
Let's not
Ooh,
get
you
this
know
confused.
what house I would buy? Speaking of David buying a house in Miami, 505 Whitehead Street in Key West.
Yeah, that's
Remember
fair.
that?
Yes, I
Spring
remember
Break
that
2011.
That's a good
I
spot.
remember that house
Sorry
well.
for whoever lives
That's a
there
really
now.
specific reference. Like basically, Brent Johnson is understanding that reference as he's listening to this.
The
But
only other thing I thought about doing was like getting everyone kind of like their dream vehicle, but like under $75,000. So you remember how?
cheaping out on
I
it.
could put together a pretty nice car for 75.
Yeah, yeah.
That was the
so-
baddest truck.
Well, you
Yeah.
know, like Kyle loved his Jeep, but then he,
Got married.
Now he's old man Kyle, and he's got, so,
Just kidding.
It's a good thing he doesn't listen. We don't even have to apologize.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. Kyle doesn't listen.
but get him a Jeep and get, Brian a really souped up lime green Mustang.
Oh my god!
You'd have to buy.
getting
You'd have to
specific
buy
here.
Jack a plane. I think that's his vehicle of choice now.
That's fair.
So
Yeah, I'll have to
yeah,
figure that one
I don't
out.
make the rules.
Yeah, I don't think I could beef up a Civic enough to.
And Jeff doesn't want a new car because he loves that truck that he has, that 1992 Silverado.
definitely-
I'll just get him like a gold-plated license plate.
Get him a share of the Green Bay Packers. That's what he would
Actually,
want.
you can get Big Jeff some overnight bags or something. Because I'll never forget when Jimmy went to pick him up to bring him up here to Atlanta to hang out for the night. Jeff looks out with a hefty trash bag.
Yeah, he had legitimately a trash bag full of clothes.
Serious?
Yeah, he and I were the last two people in Athens that were our age because I was in pharmacy school and he was getting his master's. And so I picked him up. We were coming to Atlanta to hang out at Tyler and producer Dave's apartment, and he walked out with a black trash bag full of clothes
So if someone knows
and a
Jeff,
toothbrush in his back pocket.
help the kid out. He needs a little help.
He just needs like a lifetime supply to Al's beef for.
If you
Oh,
start
man,
Jeff off,
RIP. You could open Al's beef back up if you won the lottery.
That's fair.
if you
Yeah.
start Jeff off with just a space for a gym.
Yeah,
I think that would be enough.
There you go. I did want to go back though on the value of teams, the top 10 at least, real quick.
Okay.
I run them down for Forbes, so we couldn't afford any of these if you win the lottery. They win a couple of times. So Dallas Cowboys number 1,
Really? In the whole world?
and descending. Yep, at 4.8 billion. So everything else is less.
That's more than Arthur Blank's entire net worth.
Well, Dallas Cowboys, Manchester United, Real Madrid, Barcelona. Those are all soccer teams for you. folks.
Manchester United is ahead of both the Spain teams.
Where's the closest hockey team on that list? Doesn't even
I
make
would
a
imagine the
Well, to finish
Blackhawks
out,
or
Barcelona was
Boston.
number 4, New York Yankees, New England Patriots,
I gotta imagine
New
the
York
Rangers.
Knicks, Lakers, Giants, Golden State Warriors at number 10. That rounds the top 10. The first hockey team.
So is,
I gotta-
are Golden State and the Patriots valuable because of the market and because they're valuable? Or are they valuable because
I got to imagine it's because of where they are at.
I'll get back to you.
where they're
man.
at right now? Like, I'd be curious what the if I was Kraft, I would think about selling the Patriots whenever Tom Brady retires.
That's a
Yeah.
good point. That's
Yeah.
fair.
I'm guessing on the hockey team is going to be the Rangers.
Okay, well, there isn't a
Or-
hockey team in the top 50. So the Cleveland Browns at 1.95 billion.
So nobody cares.
More than any hockey team. Sorry. But it's one of the big 5
So you're
leagues,
saying
though.
I've got a shot at
Yeah.
owning one?
Yeah, you probably could own a hockey team.
The Cleveland
I think
Browns.
the Knoxville Ice Bears are worth like $20,000. It's like the Greenville Swamp Rabbits,
Yeah.
whatever that level of hockey is called,
So
which
the-
is on In We Go. Greenville Swamp
Why not?
Rabbits are
I tell
playing
you what, I went and saw-
Atlanta Gladiators,
I went
Gwinnett
to that
Gladiators, technically.
I went to that game.
Did you?
Yeah, how was that? I'm gonna go to that with you.
It was a lot of fun. It sucks that we lost the Thrashers, obviously, because
Yeah.
I think a lot
Wait,
of people
what?
took that. We lost the Thrashers.
Oh,
Yeah.
bummer. I was going to go to a game this year.
That
yeah.
was hollow. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah, that fell flat. So I think a lot of people took it for granted when we had them, and then realized through the pickup of teams like the Predators in Nashville how fun it can be to go to a game. Again, we've said this before. I think it's difficult to enjoy watching games on TV if you're not diehard fans, just because it just doesn't lend itself well to TV. But the Gladiators are the next best thing. The only thing that really sucks is getting out there. Like I left from right after work to go, and it's just a pain in traffic. But it's a lot of fun. I mean, there's not a bad seat in the house because it can't hold that many. I don't even know what the ballpark is, but it's at Gwinnett Infinite Energy Arena or whatever.
Let's find out.
And
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, I mean it's fun to be there and watch. You know, it's pretty laid back. It's like if you've ever gone to a minor league baseball game.
Yeah.
And you kind of have that family environment.
Tennessee Smokies.
Everything's
Those are
pretty
always a lot of
inexpensive.
fun.
That's what got me into the Predators and hockey. I went-
13,000.
I was gonna say 11, but
That's how much they're worth.
That's how much. Infinite Energy Arena. Infinite.
Dude,
Energy.
I think American
let's just all
Pylon
go in
could
and
buy
buy
them.
them.
Yeah, I think the four of us could do that.
Yeah, no, I went to one of those games and seeing it in person, I was like, wow, I wasn't ready for that. That was really cool.
has everyone been to a professional hockey game here?
Making whoopee back in the day.
Yeah, that's
Shout out. R.I.P. Best team name in the history
I
of
don't
That is
think
the
I went.
best.
I've been to University of Minnesota games when I
Wow.
lived in Minnesota.
That's
which is,
I mean that's a
I mean, that's like the SEC of college hockey.
Yeah,
They're-
some of
they're
their kids
actually
played on
pretty
the
good.
Dream Team in
Oh,
Miracle.
dude, Minnesota
That might
hockey.
be.
I mean, if you're talking about
The Golden Gophers.
Yeah, I can't tell if Will's being sarcastic.
no,
right
I'm
now, but-
being 100% serious.
Okay, yeah, 'cause
let me
it's
let me
legit.
say this: Minnesota hockey is probably bigger and more exciting than any other hockey other than NHL. Right? So, like, if you were to look at Minnesota versus, I would say any other minor league hockey team, Minnesota is way up there as
Okay.
far as the talent that they have, the talent that they produce, the talent that goes to the league. So that's awesome that you got to take that in.
I lived in Minnesota for
Genuinely
3 years
very cool.
when I was
Jimmy's lived
a lot
everywhere.
younger.
If you haven't picked
Lived
up.
all over the world.
David even
got
carved
connections everywhere.
David got festive and carved a pumpkin with Predators.
I saw
stuff
that.
all over it. I saw that.
yep.
We'll tweet
also-
that out this week.
They're 7-1, leading Central Division, playing tonight 1-1 right now.
Really? Who'd they playing?
San Jose.
Oh, that's a
Sharks.
playoff matchup.
Sharks?
Sharks.
Who was Coyotes?
Phoenix.
Okay, I was close.
Sharks went to the
Sharks have
finals,
been good.
right?
Sharks have
Last
been
year?
good for
Western
the past 5
Conference
years.
Finals last year. Is that how hockey is
Yep.
organized?
They're
What a diverse sports podcast we are.
they're exciting.
man.
We're going to get into more hockey as we go. Of course, baseball is we're getting into the
Over.
World Series.
It's over.
It's over if
Yeah,
the Braves
baseball's
or
over.
Cubs
It's
are in
over.
there. But
game
again,
one
we'll
tonight.
It's the off season.
we'll
Doesn't
allot
matter.
some time next week to address.
Hawks
the
home
series.
openers tomorrow with Future playing at halftime.
I tell you what, 2 Chainz played last night.
Yeah.
Oh, I was
saw
wondering
that.
who that was
It
on
was
your
fun.
Snapchat.
It was
I saw
fun.
that.
The halftime
Should've seen what was
halftime
on TV. It was
show.
terrible.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
that was Little
Lil
Yachty. That was Little Yachty.
Yeah, they
Like
all
that-
every
what?
Monday Night Football
Yeah.
they call it the halftime performance, but they just show a music video on TV, and I don't know who they think they're fooling. Like it's live or something.
It wasn't the best.
It's just a
I
music
think it's
video.
just-
Brent Johnson sent me a Snapchat of it, and he's like, "What is happening?"
2
He's
Chainz
like,
was a lot of
surely
fun.
Atlanta can put a better foot forward than this.
Yeah,
did
it was
seem-
it was a good time.
Yeah. Do we have time to talk about the World Series at all, or no?
No, I think we're gonna
Next
have to
time.
wrap that up.
I had a thing I was going to talk about, but it's okay. Next
Save
time.
it. We're going to talk about it next week, and then of course we're going to address and recap the win the Dogs had over the Gators next week. But from all of us here on American
go.
Pylon, I want to say thank you to all of our listeners. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes, or YouTube. But once again, thank you from all of us here, and go Dogs.
Go Dogs.